I am Melania, Blade of Mikola.
Yeah, I know, you said it the last 300 times!
I am Melania, Blade of...
I would kill you if I was good enough! Ladies, gentlemen, and tarnished of all ages, recently we tried out the concept of giving you all a poll to vote on your most hated enemies in the game, and everyone seemed to enjoy that little bit of cathartic exercise, letting out a bit of steam towards the things that anger you the most in the game. So today, we're doing it again, in a slightly different direction. Once again, we sent out a poll to all of you, the Elden Ring community, and we asked a simple question. What are your most hated bosses in the game? We then refined the answers of that into a multiple choice list, and then the result is the official list of the top 10 most hated bosses in Elden Ring. Of course, I'll talk a bit about each entry, and then at the end I will bring in a roundup of all the voting, including the ones that didn't quite make the cutoff of the top 10. So stick around if that's the type of statistical thing you're into. But for now, without further ado, number 10.
So, you guys really believe in the tree spirit?
Ulcerated Tree Spirit with 4.7% of the votes. These guys are pretty unforgettable, early in the game being quite the rare occurrence to find one, often in tiny rooms at the ends of a long dungeon, and, well, fighting them generally takes a fair bit of space to do. They are giant creatures, and they fling themselves around the place like crazy, and when they are confined to a small room, it's quite painful to deal with as well. They have a grab attack, of course, and as if these early encounters weren't enough, later in the game they just show up once, even in a mass grouping in the capital of Ash, with a lot of them there, just to make you really rethink the decisions in your life that brought you to this exact moment. Number 9.
Every time I come here, I see something new, like a rare insect.
Falling Star Beast with 5.2% of the votes. These guys are one of the coolest designs in the game to me, and yet I fully understand why you all voted for them to be on this list. The fight can be super painful. Again, like the tree spirits, one of them is just located in a small room, and the vast majority of their moveset is just running back and forth, which in a small room gives you very little space to actually avoid them. Their tails extend like whips, and just in general, they don't give you a whole lot of opportunities to fight back unless you are using ranged weapons. And their damage resistances are also quite high, meaning you'll probably be fighting them for a bit once you start. Number 8.
That's before I decided to pretend it wasn't. I'm in denial.
Commander Nile with 7.5% of the votes. This guy is an interesting one, quite polarizing it seems. Personally, I didn't find him much of an issue at all on my initial playthrough through the game, but upon finding him in New Game Plus, he started to hand my ass to me. Not necessarily the hardest boss in the game by any means, but he spawns 2 Spectral Banished Knights, which are annoying as hell to deal with, and then he starts flipping around the room trying to kick you from across the whole place over and over again. There is very little room to breathe in this fight, and even the lead up to this boss room makes it really hard to buff up and prepare before entering because of all the strong teleporting minions. Number 7.
If you smell what the rock is cooking.
Fire Giant with 7.7% of the votes. This guy I have always sort of enjoyed on a personal level. I find his attacks relatively easy to track myself and to follow the timing of, even if their hitboxes are insanely big. And then on top of that, of course, if you spend too much time close to him, you'll just roll like 30 feet away in a single motion, and then start throwing fire at you from a distance, which are the real annoying attacks to deal with in this fight. His health pool is absolutely ridiculous, and once you reach the second phase of the fight, he just starts flinging explosive rocks everywhere and making fire come out of the ground in half of the arena, and the whole thing is just one big chaotic mess of trying to stand on the right place, like a twisted game of Twister. Number 6.
Hello, Birdie. Polly want a cracker?
Ollie wants your mama's sweet ass.
Consecrated Snowfield's Deathrite Bird with 9.7% of the votes. There are tons of Deathrite Birds in the game, just all over the map, but this is the only one that I saw any of you complaining about, and this list seems to prove that as nearly halfway through the vote for the most hated boss in the whole game, and that obviously says something. This one has full access to Ghost Flame as an element as long as using the Death Poker weapon itself. It can fly, of course, and it just deals a massive amount of damage. It only spawns at night and very far away from a site of grace, so if you fail and need to come back, it's really annoying. And worst of all, the walking mausoleum that's just up the hill from it, if you don't take that down beforehand, it'll just be raining explosive blue fire down on you the whole time that you're in that area. So while you could get rid of that thing first, a lot of people don't, and I can see where the frustration would come from. I will say, for anyone who is still struggling to kill this as an optional boss, they're really weak to holy damage and also to strike damage, so if you get yourself a holy strike weapon, you can make pretty quick work of them. Number 5.
This is the Crucible.
Crucible Knight with 9.8% of the votes. This could apply to a number of different parts of the game where Crucible Knights show up as bosses, but the place that I see people most commonly talk about and complain about is that very first Crucible Knight at the Stormhill Everjail. Not because its moveset is particularly different and more difficult than the other ones, but because a Crucible Knight is one hell of a foe to go against at any point in the game, and even more so an hour or less into it. Their moveset is oppressive, and their damage reductions are quite high. So if you go into this one early on, which you have no reason to think that you shouldn't, given that it's 5 feet off of the path that leads you towards Margit, who is the first main boss, you'll probably die over and over and over again if you fight the Crucible Knight. And well, I would argue that this thing is just honestly harder than Margit, or even most of the things around Limgrave, really. So it really is interesting why it was placed so early on in the place that it is. Very easy to get to, very easy to find, very easy to start fighting, and very difficult to finish fighting, unless you finish by dying. Number 4.
Sweet Gargoyle Bro.
The Valiant Gargoyle Duo with 10.6% of the votes. Generally speaking, any boss that gets turned into a double boss will be universally disliked, unless it is programmed in a way where they work together to do cool stuff, and none of the duo fights in Elden Ring are. They're just duos of things that you normally fight solo, and then it just winds up being 2 of an annoying enemy fighting together, giving you more angles that you have to be worried about for the whole fight, more health pool that you have to chunk through, and more potential damage incoming into your face at any given moment. These gargoyles are no different, and their size makes it quite hard to deal with, not to mention how resistant they are to most types of damage, how much ground they cover with their attacks, and the result is you could be here for a very long time. Number 3.
It isn't just a beast, it is intelligent, and the last of its kind.
Elden Beast with 11% of the votes. And this one doesn't surprise me in the slightest. This boss really splits my own personal opinion even. The concept is great, visually, the fight is amazing, and then he puts Elden Stars on you and makes you jump through a hoop while dodging a long-term tracking projectile, and then fires out waves of golden light and then teleports to the other side of the room. And oh, did I mention that if you fail against him, you need to beat Radagon again first to even get another attempt at Elden Beast itself? More than anything, I feel like those two should have been separate bosses, both with their own second phase, mind you, but tying them together is a really strange decision, and especially when you have put up with all of Radagon's shit, you then have to completely adjust to a totally different fight experience against Elden Beast without even getting to resupply. It's just all really aggravating and really jarring of an experience. Number 2.
There's 2 of them?
Godskin Duo with 16.8% of the votes. I bet a lot of you are surprised that this one is actually number 2 and not number 1, but yes, Godskin Duo is not the most hated boss in Elden Ring, not quite. But the reason that it is hated is quite simple, and I doubt anyone who has fought them would disagree. They both attack at the same time. Both of them have an inbuilt response to throw fire at you anytime that you use any sort of item, including a flask. There are pillars in the room that you can hide behind, but they also destroy the pillars very quickly and easily. And probably the weirdest part of it all is that this isn't even just a duo boss fight in the normal sense, because if you kill one of them, it will just respawn a few seconds later. The health bar doesn't represent the 2 of them, it represents an arbitrary health number that you have to get through by damaging each of them until you hit it enough that they stop respawning. It really is weird, and unless you use sleep against them as a status, then it's really annoying to do the entire way through. Number 1. Fall damage with 17% of the votes. Okay, so maybe it isn't literally a boss, but hey, you guys are the ones who voted. I'm just the arbitrator here. I don't make the rules or vote on the list, I just present the results from you. And you all said gravity, fall damage, a lack of usable terrain, is the most hated boss in the entire game. And well, I get the distaste here. A lot of boss fights have limited space that you can just straight up walk off of and die without even getting hit by the boss. And even outside of those boss fights, fall damage is an ever ever-looming threat. No one is safe from walking off of the side of something accidentally, and no one is safe from being pushed off by surprise enemies either. There is nothing that can make you immune to dying from jumping off of stuff, and there is no way to defeat this boss either, meaning you won't even get the last laugh, no satisfaction of revenge against your torturer. It just sits there laughing at you, daring you to try one more time, which you will, and you will lose. And there you have it, everyone. The full top 10 list of the most hated bosses in Elden Ring as voted by all of you. And for anyone who wants to see it, here is the full list of 15 that you voted from in the first place, which were all nominated by the community itself as well. We had a good number of votes here, but as with any type of voting system, the more votes that we get, the more accurate the results will be to the overall opinion of the community as a whole, rather than just a smaller sample size like we have here. So if you disagree with this list in any way, the best way to fix it is to just do your best to take part in the next one of these votes. Get your voice heard and share your own opinion on the matter at hand. For now though, I think we can all agree, these bosses suck. Not like they are badly designed necessarily, but goddamn do I not want to fight any of them ever again. Like if you like the video, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.